we want to make sure that you have a chance to get at it. You can look in the chat window down below. If you put your mouse in the window, see down below a chat, open that chat box. I've got two links, and one is to the Facebook page, our Facebook SchoeppNeoLife page, which is where the video will be. And then the other the web page is the SchoeppNeoLife web page, or SchoeppNeoLife web page. Now you can see from behind me, SchoeppNeoLife is the company we deal with, but also realigned to the design. Just very quickly, that's what I do these days still. A lot of workshops around health and wellness, did a bunch of those with Wheatridge, but that's something you can get to the web page. Well, I should have put that up. I'll put that up later on. So we have that web page as well. That's how you got here to sign up, as one of the ways. Okay, I think that's about it. Here's what I want to do. I want to share the screen at this point. And I am going to, excuse me, put my web page up, the keynote page up, I should say. So you should be seeing, in just a second here, a really big, I'm going to get to this program. You should be seeing a big old apple, healthy living in the middle of it. And then my picture's probably off to the side somewhere. But I'm just going to keep going. That's what we're talking about here, is healthy living. We've been doing this for a long time. SchoeppNeoLife has been at it for 60 years. We've been with them for 27. And certainly we've got everybody's mind is around COVID-19, but this is really about lifelong health. And so that's what we're going to talk about. On our health history, real quick, we're involved in SchoeppNeoLife because of my dad. He had triple bypass in 1975. He went 30 more years after that. If there were 100 folks who got triple bypass in 1975, 4 of them are still alive 30 years later. My dad was one of them. We think it was 3 things. A lot of people are praying for my dad. He really changed his lifestyle for all 30 years, and that's very uncommon. Most folks give up after 5 for a variety of reasons. And he dramatically boosted his nutrition. He ate well, but he boosted his nutrition with SchoeppNeoLife from day 1 of his triple bypass, and then he introduced it to us. So Becky, cancer history 3 times, 2 with Hodgkin's, once with follicular lymphoma, plus a lot of fallout things. Chronic heart failure is the main one. That's due to the classic cancer treatments. And so the same thing with her. If 100 people started in 92 with her cancer history, there was only about 8 alive 28 years later. So go Becky, she hopes to beat her father-in-law. Same 3 things: prayer, lifestyle change, and nutrition. So we take that pretty seriously. And the state of our health, we've been saying this for years in SchoeppNeoLife. We're not doing very well in this country or the world when they take our lifestyle on and the way we eat. And of course, these days, we're concerned about a lot of different things that are around this pandemic. But for now, if you can't, just ignore the pandemic. We got a lot of things to think about just in terms of being healthy. And this came out about a year ago. It's talking about, we often hear the things that we're doing wrong, that we're eating wrong, I should say, high levels of the bad things. And there's a study from April in 2019 that said really it's mostly about the low levels of the things we should be eating. We're not eating enough of the right things. So what we don't eat is really killing us. And you can see the high things, what you'd expect: sodium, fat, processed meat. But look at number 11 for the US, sweetened beverages, because sugar has to be up there among the top ones. So those are certainly things we're doing we shouldn't be doing. But take a look at all these blue arrows. This is what we're going to talk about: whole grains, fruits, nuts and seeds, omega-3, vegetables, fiber, and legumes. Those are critical in terms of our ability to be healthy. So 3 keys to optimal health: diet, weight management, and physical activity. And really, the outside 2, when we do those well, weight management is handled pretty well. Now, we don't have to look like the people in the magazines, even like this gal in the middle. We can have healthy weights that aren't, paper thin, but we do have to manage our weight or we get into some trouble. This is how our diet should be. So lots of whole grains, lots of fruits and vegetables, smaller amounts of protein, and then at the top, very small amounts of fats and sugars. But of course, we eat the opposite way in this country. We call it the SAD, the Standard American Diet. So only 92% of adults are getting 3 servings of whole grains, 88 of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, 80% don't even consume 2 servings of fish per week, and then 150 pounds of sugar per person per year, compared to less than 10 pounds prior to the 20th century. So sugar is one of the key factors, certainly. And then again, what we aren't eating, those bottom ones. So there's standard American diet. Not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can see lots of things going wrong in our health because of what we're both eating, and, as I want to make sure we understand, not eating. Not eating is as critical, perhaps more important than what we're eating. So here we are. World Health Organization and the CDC that by 2020, well, that's now, 3 out of 4 deaths caused by heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. So again, ignore for this moment, if you can, the COVID-19. Without that, we're already losing 3 out of 4 people to what essentially are, folks, they're preventable diseases. And we want to get serious about that. Even with Becky's cancer history and my dad's heart history, long way that you can go living with those if we give our body what it needs. So our cells, we have to think at a cellular level. So we think there's about 75 trillion. Now, this is an estimate, obviously, but the critical thing is we replace them all the time, and on average, about every 7 years. Now, at different frequencies. So, for example, the stomach and the intestines, that's a toxic environment. Those get replaced much faster than, say, our bones or whatever. But let's say about every 7 years, they all get replaced, except, for example, our brains. Those cells stay with us long term. Well, for me, that's 8 times already replacing them all. That's 10 trillion new cells a year, and that's 300 million new cells every day, folks. Every day, we got to make 300 million new cells, and it's way more for growing kids. We just learned we had a new a granddaughter, Lucy. And our bodies are either making healthy cells, strong cells, like these kind of clay bricks, or, folks, they're making cardboard bricks, which, of course, you can't build anything with. We're not going to live in a house made of cardboard bricks. So research shows vitamins can help fill the gap. That's critical. But here's the challenge. You can see 2 symbols. People say, well, I don't need to spend, way more money on a Mercedes-Benz. I'll just buy a cheap Yugo. It gets me from A to B. That's just fine. Well, the challenge is with supplementation, 75% of the people have already decided, I'm going to use supplements to fill the gaps. I don't think I'm getting enough out of my food. Well, then people react strongly, medical profession included, says, yeah, but there's tests that prove supplements don't work. Well, we say to that, that's correct. Our tests say that. We agree with those tests. They're testing poor products. 2, tests prove that NeoLife does work. Correct. We know, and we can point you to all the studies you want to get about the efficacy of NeoLife, because they've been made well and they've been studied well. Here's the challenge. If you trust line number 1, you're just not going to buy the supplements because you think they're useless. If you trust number 2, the tendency is for people to say, well, okay, if NeoLife works, they must all work, and you buy the cheap products. The cheap products are not as good. They're just simply not. Well, who do you trust? Lots of things you can see here from 2015. There's even more recent examples. And you can see well-known brand names, Vitamin Shop, GNC. And by the way, people do not like going to those places anymore. Those are losing favor, partly because they want to go to some place that really understands, and often they find the workers there don't know enough, and they're concerned that they're getting crap products, because this is the example of how careful or lack of care is shown in terms of those companies and what they make. So here's examples. DL, when it says DL alpha tocopherol, that's vitamin E. That's a lab-produced vitamin E. The cells recognize that. And then we see this long list, of course, of broccoli and raspberries, etc. Well, the question is, that's, by the way, brand is Nature's Way, Alive 50 Plus from Men. This is an actual label. And you can see those words there. The challenge at the bottom is, what's the source of all those fruits and vegetables? Are they organic? Are they GMO? Website gives you no information about where they're sourced. And we don't know anything about the company, so you're at the mercy. And we know from NeoLife, our experience with NeoLife and their 60 years of history, 0 lawsuits in all 60 years, very careful. They have just been pioneers in the industry, and respected research team that is one of them, the main one, Arthur First. You can see toxicologist, pharmacologist. This is the guy that was heavily involved in the early phases of chemotherapy, world-renowned toxicologist. As he went into his work over the years, he finally said, I want to work on the other side. I want to talk about prevention. And he did also work on treating with fruits and vegetables, and found in animal trials that they worked very well. So he shifted gears and said, I'm going to find a company that's doing this well, meaning supplements. And who did he find? He found NeoLife. And very early on, he found them in their existence and said, I want to set up a board, a scientific advisory board. There are actual scientists in the field doing the work. We've met all the people at the bottom. We know they exist. They're not fake names or just rubber stamps. They do the work, and they're proud of their work, and they'll stand behind their work. And then it's not the PR department that's driving what products they make. It's the science saying, here's what the body needs and here's how we're going to make it. So all of these organizations are world-class partners. One of the only supplement companies to have this happen is that NeoLife is invited in by these places to present because their science is so strong. So natural versus whole food. Well, there's lots of things that are natural. NeoLife says, no, we have to source our stuff from what's whole food, what's already in the food, the human food chain. And then, of course, non-GMO. They've been on that bandwagon from the very beginning. They're saying we're basically being experimented on. And the people who are doing the GMO changes are concerned about other things, like, for example, tomatoes, getting the tomatoes a long distance in a truck. They're not concerned about nutrition or about taste. And that's a concern for NeoLife and should be for us. So here's that symbol again. You can see all these connections I put in there, but we have to talk now again about immunity. And this is the discussion in the context of, again, overall health. If our overall health is strong, our immunity will be strong. That's just simply part of the package. So, and again, from that symbol, that study we just looked at, I put the slide back up, we have lots of things that we're not eating that are critical to us. So immunity is protection against that which would harm us, biological and biochemical, and it's very, very diet dependent. We sometimes lose sight of that. We think we've been conditioned to think of pharmacy. Well, if something's wrong, we go to the pharmacy for that. And the point is, do the right thing, and you can use far less pharmacy because you don't need to. You've got protection. So immunity is about bad things getting into our body through the natural openings, for example, the mouth. But there's some safety in that process because our gut and stomach kill a lot of the stuff that comes in because it's such a toxic environment. So, kids can eat dirt, for crying out loud, and they don't die. Now, you wouldn't put dirt in a wound because that's a good way to get infection and to die, because there's no system in place for cleaning that stuff out before it causes problems. And then, of course, direct access through the skin, it's absorbed. It doesn't even have to be an open wound. So lots of ways it gets in. So 3 pillars of immunity. Prevention, and we like to think protection. Think protection. You want to protect yourself and prevent bad things from happening. And then, of course, you may have to have, back up, recovery and healing. Those are all part of the immune system. And so that's when we talk about these nutrients we're going to do here in a second. They're all part of that three-pillared approach. So here's by groups, the nutrients that we need: phytonutrients, omega-3s, probiotics, vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and amino acids, which we know by another name of protein. All of those are critical. And there's a list of it's less than 100 that I'm aware of these nutrients that are listed here by broad groups. So it's not a 1,000 long list. We just have to make sure we get the right amount of those things in our bodies. And we're just going to go through some of them. Whole grain lipids and sterols, critical. What are they from? They're from whole grains, as you can see on the right side there. And they promote, first of all, healthy cellular function. This is like the cell, the membrane of a cell. Think every cell in your body has that membrane, and then inside are all the workings of that cell's ability to survive and do things. Well, that membrane is basically the mouth and the anus for the cell. So if that membrane is not functioning well, it gets brittle, And why does it get brittle? It gets brittle because it doesn't have enough whole grain lipids and sterols. So when it's brittle, think constipation and starvation at a cellular level. Bad news for our cells. And then because for our cells, then for us, we aren't functioning at capacity. So you got to feed your cells, enhance your energy, and this is what it's saying: nutrients get in and waste gets out when the tree end. That's what we call it. And by the way, we're the only company that bothers making this. So you get concentrated forms of this in our body, so that our cells become more efficient. And then the thing that doesn't get said often enough is that that also is critical for the adrenal or the hormonal system in our body. And that's kind of like the thermostat that gets set for, we like a certain temperature. And if a thermostat's set wrong, we're not ever going to get that temperature. If a thermostat's set at 60, you're not going to be comfortable if you want to be at 70. And so that whole adrenal system is critical, and nutrition affects it negatively and positively. Now, another group, carotenoids. Basically, think fruits and vegetables, as you can see in the picture. What's the benefit? It assists in healthy levels of the immune cell activity, and they are also powerful antioxidants. Think rust. That's the best analogy I can give. When metal gets put outside in the elements and it's not protected, it starts rusting almost immediately. Same thing with our cells. If there's no protection, oxidation is rust. Oxidation happens at a cellular level, and our cells get damaged. So that's why you need these carotenoids and phytonutrients and else that are protectant of the cells. Again, we got to keep our cells healthy. And then tested. USDA came after, and by the way, it took 10 years to develop the carotenoid complex at NeoLife Science. And they were very careful, and they have a long list of the fruits and vegetables that are in this in focused capacity. So what they did, they took a group of people and they said, okay, we're going to remove all carotenoids from your diet, and they can measure immune response. And they saw the immune response for those people plummet in this test. Then they stopped at a certain level and said, okay, we're not going to continue reducing. We're going to give you only now carotenoid complex to give you back carotenoids. And so at that point forward, all they got was carotenoids. And in 37 days, it went back up to the baseline where it had started, and additional, I'm sorry, in 20 days, it went 20 days, it went back to baseline, and 37% farther than that in terms of immune. So they make a huge, huge difference in the functional capacity, the immune capacity of the cells. Then another whole group, omega-3s. There's a fish there because that's part of the best source for all 8, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. You need all 8 of the omega-3s, and any kind of supplements that we look at, they're maybe giving you 3, and the body needs all 8. So it's healthy immune response, and the other thing, inflammation. So think a cellular level, think of cells having a sprained ankle and a badly sprained ankle all the time. That's chronic inflammation. Our cells are not functioning well at that capacity. Omega-3s reduce that chronic inflammation and then promote healing as well. And you can see the balance there. We have been way overbalanced on omega-6s because so much corn, a lot of other things that our food has that are heavy on omega-6, which is, by the way, inflammatory. We need it, but it's inflammatory. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, so we have to have the right balance of that. And then again here, our source is ultra-pure, concentrated salmon oil. It has all 8, high potency, guaranteed potency, and you can see on the bottom there, it can show you exactly how many in each of the containers. It's always the same because they have a proprietary molecular differentiation process, which for all of their products can say, okay, what's in there at what level, and they make sure that we get everything we need. So another area, probiotics. What's the benefits? That's all the stuff that's in our, from the past the stomach down. A stomach has acid in it, and then below there it's probiotics and enzymes basically. There's other things, but those are the main items. And when those are out of whack, and they're out of whack because there's too many that are unhealthy organisms. They're all organisms. They're all not us. They're all bacteria. And there's lots of harmful bacteria that can get in there when we eat poor foods. Poorly chosen foods help the bad bacteria. Well-chosen foods help replenish the good bacteria. So that's critical. And our version of that gets through the stomach. First of all, because acid is really hard on the probiotic, so it's very little of that gets through the stomach unless it's protected, gel guard technology, whole food derived, etc. Lots of good things happening there. Garlic and allium foods, there's other ones like that, shallots, etc. They support a healthy immune response as well. They promote gastrointestinal health, and they're very hard on bacteria and viruses. So in our detox, for example, one of the things in that detox is in the first 2 days, garlic, because that's helpful at killing off the bad bacteria in your gut, and then you replenish that in the later part of the detox. And again, broad spectrum whole food extracts and concentrates, targeted delivery, that's critical, and guaranteed high potency. And then all of that without the value of the benefits of raw garlic without the garlic breath. Vitamin C, it's an immunity booster. We've known that for years, and helps the body absorb iron. So again, that's one of the things that you need to make sure is in high potency in your diet. And ours, again, pure, potent bioflavonoids, broad spectrum protection, and long lasting. And they're just, again, very well made, and that's the challenge. When you, we know of a pharmacist at a doctoral level. She got her doctorate in pharmacy, and she works at a regular Walgreens. I'm not which branch she works at, but she says, in this whole COVID epidemic, COVID-19, people were scrambling, lining up, standing, literally, she said, for hours to get boxes of zinc like this and vitamin C. And she said, people would ask me, will this help? And her response had to be, we know zinc helps, we know vitamin C helps. What I can't tell you with any certainty is whether this product has been made well. I don't know, because if it's not made well, you don't get the benefit from it. So zinc, it does support the immune cell proliferation and wound healing, promotes antioxidant enzyme function, yes, but you have to have a good source of that. You can see in the bottle, we do what's called chelation, double chelation. That just means the body's more able to use to make that bioavailable, and you get the benefit of it instead of just basically poorly produced supplements get peed out, and you think you're saving money, and you're not saving anything because you're not getting any benefits. Now, amino acids, last one. The protein, there are 8 what they call essential amino acids and 14 non-essential. Now, those are technical terms. In this case, essential means your body can't produce those 8. Non-essential means your body theoretically can manufacture those 14 from other raw materials. The challenge is if you have the right raw materials and if your digestion is working well, etc. Well, NeoLife says, look, we know you need 22. We're going to give you all 22 because they're all essential. To use the term in the other way we use it, we need all 22. Why? Well, essential for the immune system capacity. Think of it in this way. When something new comes into our body that shouldn't be there, we want to develop an immune response. And our body mechanisms are smart enough to say, okay, I need these 5 ingredients to make an immune response to this particular pathogen. And it sends its messengers to go get the 5 things. If it comes back with 4 of those 5, it can't make the antibody to the pathogen. So you have to have all 22 as critical. And then they're essential for cell manufacture and repair. If you're talking about getting healthy again, if you're sick, there's a lot of repair that has to happen. Protein, amino acids are essential in that process. And also, again, for the adrenal system, the hormone system, again, get those thermometers set properly in your body, and nutrition makes a difference. So here's our protein. We call them NeoLife shakes, all natural, all 22, very high quality score, the PDCAAS. Basically, that means how digestible is it? Ours is the highest score as you'll find in anybody who's selling protein. And then 18 grams, branched chain, which is about muscle building, etc. It includes fiber. It includes help for the sugar response that our body has, plus additional 25 vitamins and minerals. So really good stuff in our shake. And based in nature, backed by science. That's our approach. We want whole food sourced supplements, and it took 10 years for carotenoids. They waited 10 years before they did a CoQ10 because they did not have a natural source. Everybody else was making it in the lab. Well, the body absorbs a little bit of that stuff, but when you compare ours now, that's a natural source, blows the other competition away because it's made again in a way that the body recognizes and uses. All right, now more info. I'm within my 30 minutes here. We got 5 minutes left. There might be a chance for questions if people have them. But if you need more info, we invite you to just stay on the Zoom call. Those that might stay, we can give you a chance to ask other questions. But at the 30-minute mark, whoever needs to go can go. This is Becky's email address. And so check that out. And I in the future, I'll remember to put that also in the chat box. Then this is her phone number. And this is our webpage. And we have that webpage up on the chat box. So if you had any questions at all, we would be happy to connect you to this stuff. This is network marketing. The only way you can get this stuff is through someone who's connected as a distributor, a promoter. And we like that. I've listened to ads that are using network marketing, essentially. There was an ad the other day, I forget the product, but it said, it was life insurance. And this was, they were playing out this little thing about, oh, I'm sorry to hear about your brother's heart condition, heart attack. Oh yeah, I'm worried about my wife. Well, hey, the guy says, talk to my life insurance agent, blah, blah, blah. That's network marketing, folks. And that's the best way we think for this to get out. And NeoLife has said, we're not going to sell out. We're going to just work inside this network marketing system. They're recognized all over the world. In Africa, it's a household name. They're working hard on America because it's our home, but we haven't done as good a job of marketing here as we want. And so we're in really ramp up mode to do that in these last number of years, and excited about that. And we're excited about our part in that. So get a hold of us if you have questions. Again, stick on. Let me stop sharing here. And I gotta, hang on, I gotta get off my computer thing. So I think I've stopped sharing. And we're back on and see if there's any questions. And if no questions, then let's check on time. So we're 1:57, so that's just about right, 30 minutes. We appreciate your time. And again, contact us. I'll make sure that, I'll just look at that chat box. I'll make sure that the chat window has more information in it, email, phone number, etc. It has the Realign to the Design webpage as well. And we love to be engaged with you in helping you to boost your overall health. And hey, while you're doing that, you boost your immune system. We're not promising anything specifically about cures or whatever, but we know that our body works well, and when you give it the right stuff, it can do what it needs to do to the best of its ability. And that's what we hope to do. All right, blessings to all of you. And we will talk to you later. Thanks.